Hello everyone, welcome back to another weekly video of just me reviewing my data. So today was the last few days of September into October. So we've ended the month of September, and I'm going to look overall throughout the month what my performance was. But starting with my first model, which is the one I trade on my live, on when I live stream, sorry. I'll trade both of these models. I'll talk about my live from now on, but this is the one I trade on live streams usually, where I'm actively looking for the trade, and then giving my thoughts on it. But we had Tuesday with a loss and a win. Now the thing about this loss that I noticed in the sweep, sometimes before I used to never take these, but whenever the price run, so this is the price run from low to high, that got swept. And then once it got swept by that big black candle there, I started looking for longs, and then I found a fair value gap in displacement, went long, got stopped out, stop was beneath the low, got stopped out. But the thing about this price run is it ran higher above some measure of significant liquidity before running lower. And then we had a second trade where the difference is, you see here with this sweep, the price run from that low up to that high is one singular candle, but it hasn't taken any significant amount of exterior liquidity. So it hasn't really went to premium, while this price swing went up to premium and now could be distributing lower. And so you wouldn't want to try and catch a falling knife. Versus here, you are catching a falling knife, it's just not in the beginning stages of a distribution, because the price run you're catching it on is much lower than this price run is much more of a discount. You can think of it like that. However, I'm still gonna take those trades. So sometimes those first loss would win, right? And at the end of the year, when I have all my data, more data, really, now I'll have, because right now I don't have 20 examples or 10 examples of when these types of sweeps occur, where the price run takes out a significant amount of liquidity opposing to, or in the direction I would like to be trading in. And when I have more trades like this, I'll be able to tell if it's worth it or not to take these. For now, though, I know that my model is worth it enough. Even if I don't taking those, it's profitable enough, so it doesn't really matter. It's just, it'll take time for me to finalize it into something that's really good. And then the next day, I was supposed to stream, but there was a government shutdown. But honestly, I was not feeling well after some emotional mistakes I made on Tuesday. I did a live stream about that, talking about the mistakes, me rewatching the stream. And I'm sure a lot of the regular viewers also saw it. But basically, I just decided I took the trade on the wrong account, and I realized it a bit too late. At the first loss, I did it fine. And then the second trade, I took it on the wrong account by accident. And it kind of got me a little bit distressed, and I took the trade on the right account, but at a bad fill when it had already ran into some profit a little bit, and I had a really bad stop, and I was disappointed with that, but it is what it is. Anyways, same thing though, we had a sweep that ran up, took a significant amount of buy side, then price ran beneath it, and this time ended up working out. I did get in here, but it was on a market order, and my fill was a little bit above the gap, so I decided to actually close it and get back with the proper limit order. Like it had gotten, I closed it, and it didn't come back to the entry to give me a fill, but I wanted to get in on a limit order, so I re-entered. I closed for like a little bit of profit, and then I re-entered at the proper spot. And that was a pretty good trade for 3.85 RR. So 4 RR did make up for the losses, which is good. Both days had high impact news, except Thursday and Friday's news. It was supposed to be high impact news, and they were not released. So I did not trade on those days, but there could have been, if my model was present. No, it was not present, but at least I don't think so. I don't recall it being present, but I don't want to be wrong here. Yeah, this is not present. Same thing with Thursday, also not present. So either way, yeah, there was no trading because the news was canceled because of the government shutdown. But on a table view, the average R was 2 R per trade, which is really good. Another very, very Another example of a week that shows our model is very profitable. Having an average 2 hour per trade is incredible. So, compared to what the industry standards are, only 3 trades on 2 days. It's pretty good. So, anyways, I want to look at what it was for the whole month now, and I'm gonna edit these filters here. Actually, first, before I do that, I'm gonna look at my other model, NLP. We'll do we'll do NLP here. For NLP, this is the model I trade. Whether if we're above 8:30 midnight, I sell. If we're underneath 8:30 midnight, I buy. Now there was some scenarios here that I just want to be able to show some of the properties. Now there was a trade on Thursday that was a trend. This is a winning trade, but other than that, the only 2 trades I took were both losers. This was in a trend scenario though, and so far that scenario is 1-9 this year. Now 2-9 after today. So I did not take this. I talked about this last week, this scenario, and I just didn't end up taking it. Maybe this was it was a very, very large trend, only directional. So it makes sense that it pulled back, but it didn't need to pull back all the way down here. It could have maybe pulled back a little bit. It didn't need to pull back all the way. And, it would have worked out if I took it. I did start thinking about maybe whenever there's a trend scenario, I could take the trade, but then very quickly put my stop to break even, like maybe after it passes 8:30, or it takes out the first short-term low in the 5 or 15-minute time frame. Then I put my stop to break even, so if ever it does come back on me, at least I won't have to take a loss. And because it doesn't happen often when there's a trend scenario that it just immediately loses. If we go back and look at those trades, which I will do when I have more data, like maybe closer to 20 trades, I'll go back and look at that and then see, okay, what's the minimum amount of points that each trade runs before we get stopped out? What's a common objective that I can target that will always get hit before I get stopped out? And I'm going to target that objective and then maybe take some partials or move my stop to break even after we move there, and then start tightening the trade. But either way, 0-2 today for the only trades I took this model. It is what it is. Now I want to look at it for the whole month. So we'll start with NLP and we'll look at it from the 1st to Wednesday, or the 30th. Sorry, the 1st to 30th September. In total, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 trades. We are 4 and 6. 3 of them were trends, so removing the trend scenario, we're 4 and 3. Average trade pays me 1.79 RR. And if I don't include the trend, it's below 1 RR per trade. 1 hour per trade. But if I were to add up the total RR, I would have made more money if I had included the trend scenario with 3 more R. However, 3 more R. Yeah. No, how come all 3 of those lost? Oh, that was in October 2nd. Okay. So there were 3 trades last month in September that there was a trend scenario and it lost. So this is an example, another example here. When I consider a trend is whenever the trend makes up from the low all the way to where we are at 9:30 and it makes up the entire day's range. That's what I consider a trend. And it's just directional. So like this, for example. So we're 0-3. And the trade that we would have taken would have made up for all those losses. But yeah. But anyways, that yeah. So that makes sense how I would have made more money not trading the trend than anyways. But yeah, so let me go back to the average per trade, and I mean there's nothing really else to look at here. We're gonna go to the 2025 model, and now here we had, but yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know if there was. Oh, there was a trade. 10. on a trend. Okay, so we're 6-4 on this model. A few more losses, but 2 of those losses were on days. One of them was on an FOMC day, which can happen often, where the initial trade loses and then it moves in the right direction. And then another loss was at the same time where there was a win, right? So we had, if we look at that on the calendar view, September 1st to 30th, and we look at 2025 model, go to last month. Yeah, so an L and the W, an L and the W, an L and the W. So 3 of the L's had a W with them, which means that I can't risk my maximum amount that I'm willing to lose that day on each trade, because that means I would have missed out on 3 wins, which is like 9 RR. You know, because average RR is 3 to 4. It could have been 12 RR I would have missed out on if I were to, you know, not take a second trade. So it is definitely worth it to continue in taking a second trade. One of those trades had no news, so I wouldn't have taken that. But other than that, everything else was on high impact news days. In total, including not including the news, were 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses. So 4 losses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 wins and 4 losses. Only 1 losing day though, if everything is taken. So that is really good to see. And removing the news, having that checked, our average R per trade is 1.61, 5 and 4 for the month, which is pretty good. So I feel pretty good about, you know, I had a losing week on NLP, had a tough week, still a winning week on my other model, 2025 model. So I mean, it's been really tough this week, but you know, it is what it is. I'm gonna keep trading the same way I'm trading the following week. There's nothing to change this week. There's nothing really to note. The only thing is that now I'm no longer doing Top Step on 2025 model. I decided to go back to trading on my live while also trading NLP with it. And it's been a little challenging figuring out exactly what my risk parameters should be, because one model I know I could risk 5% of the account and be fine, and the other model, well, maybe not 5% on the first trade, but in total that day 5%. And the other model, because in case the second trade is the winner and the first one loses, but the other model I could risk, like, even actually whether it wins or loses, I could still risk 5%. I've been doing that throughout the year anyway. But the thing is, with this other model, it's different because I also have to balance the other model, and losing $500 and then having the next 2-3 trades in my second model be losers. I feel like that could be very, very discouraging, and I don't really want to be in that situation where, you know, I lose $500 and I don't trade for another week or 2, which is very possible on 2025 model, and then I have to take losses on NLP or wins on NLP and then start making back chunks of what I lost risking 5% versus NLP where I risk 1%. So it's definitely a little challenging. I'm gonna really have to think about it, but, you know, maybe I'm also just overthinking things and I should just trust in the data and myself, and then don't worry about what the account balance is. But I don't know, you know, it's something I'll really have to think about, and I think it's safest if I start with the least amount before I move up, at least, and start testing to see how things work out. So I'm not going to risk as much as nearly as much as I risked before, you know, when I was only trading 2025 model on my live. But anyways, with that being said, there's nothing else really out this week. I hope anyone who watched enjoyed, and I wish you all a good week. Good luck trading next week, and hopefully you've had a good week in this past week.